after your journeys.
Yes, that is true.
Okay, so as many of you know, and if you didn't know, a lot of us have come off of a retreat, an in-person retreat together where we were talking about the 5 strengths and how Dharma practice develops strengths. And also recently Nelly took a course from Barry Center for Buddhist Studies on truth, views, and values, and shared the recordings with me. So we're processing those. But really, we're both very stimulated by a lot of Dharma right now. Yes, Nelly, come on in now.
Yeah, so we're in the process of just maybe barely beginning to whatever word you want to use here, to digest, to metabolize, to synthesize, especially this course that I just took with John Peacock and Akichina Weber. And there's a lot there because there's from a more scholarly point of view. So we're going to be sifting through it and pulling out the parts that seem most relevant to the practice we're doing. But most of that'll happen after I come back from my sabbatical.
Right.
This is
Right.
my last teaching for 6 weeks, and but I will be back, and this is what we intend to do.
And this is my first time teaching in the month of June. I've been gone the whole month, so it's really nice to be back. And that we're going to be letting you in on our intentions and our process of where we hope to go and to really pull things out of this vast teachings of the Dharma. There's so many of them. So we're really going to be focusing on the things that are kind of new and exciting to us.
And our approach, reflective meditation, is really the bedrock of it, is the teaching of conditionality. And in this course that I took, they brought up that there's not one Pali word for conditionality, but there are 2. And the fact of the second one really substantiates, I feel like, this whole approach and the way we're teaching it.
And surprised us. It's like that you can still be studying the Dharma all these many years, and then, wow, there's a new teaching right there that's been part of the teaching. So,
Linda, I'm going to interrupt you. I don't really even feel like it's a new teaching. It's a new word and understanding.
A new word, right?
Out of the sutras or the scriptures, whatever, for what we've been doing all along.
But it's new to us, Nelly. I mean, we haven't heard this. I mean, throughout all of our years that we've been teaching conditionality, I would have missed it on a multiple choice test. Are there 2 or 1? I would have said 1. And the second conditionality is called Ida Pachyata in the Pali language. And we've been teaching Paticca Samuppada, which is kind of the more universal, the more overarching understanding of conditionality. And this second term talks about the kind of conditionality that is very detailed, personal, found within your own experience, nuanced, and it really affects how we put our experience together and talk about our lives.
So, but circling back, in case people haven't heard about what the other term, the one we've been teaching for a long time is, if you're newer with us, which is Paticca Samuppada, that is like a basic teaching that says that things do not happen in a vacuum or in isolation. When one thing happens, another thing happens. It's not separate, discrete things, but one thing conditions another. But it's, or is dependent on other things, which is, we've sort of been, we've been teaching that, but we've been referring it back to our particular experiences, specific things that happen. We just didn't know that it was written in this
right.
as separate things.
Right. And it's interesting to see why it's such a big deal for us is because when we listen to each other and hear your specific details about your experience, this is the way we learn more about this kind of universal principle of conditionality, that things are not just happening to oneself, to myself, to you. There's way that they happen in a larger context, in a broader definition, and we can refer back to this universal principle, but also value the specific details of our conditions.
And Linda, as you said that, I thought of, well, that could be a whole other talk on Sangha, because that's what
Right.
we are doing, right?
Right.
We are, impacting one another, are the
Yeah.
specific conditions of our life are impacting one another. Um, so, this talking, which we do, if you're newer to us, at the almost, well, in every meditation event we teach, just about every, and that we do it on the daily online here every day for the last 10 or more minutes, where we really want to hear about the specifics of what went on in your meditation. And for people who are newer, that might not make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. It could feel too mundane or difficult to sort through, like where is the Dharma in that story or what you're trying to tell us. But this is another point that I think they brought out very well, which is looking at conditionality as a truth, as a what they call in Pali satya, which means that something is self-evident, evident to the person who's experiencing it, and that's the reality of what you know from your conditions. And so really taking conditionality into this, again, a kind of a broader truth that we're working with in the Dharma.
Yeah, and another word we liked for that was self-evident, right? That it is, and I actually, as I think about it right this moment, as we look at ourselves, it becomes evident,
Right.
and that's what we're doing. We're looking internally at our sense of what the self is, and certain things become evident. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and that's in because we do have dialogue and discourse amongst each other about our experience. It also is harder to debate each other's truth. I think that's a development of the practice, is that when something becomes self-evident to somebody, it's not like you go in there and say, no, that's wrong, or that can't be right. It takes you kind of out of this right, wrong debate on people's experience.
So a direct quote from these teachers are, so let's not invalidate the personal or the particular or the specific in favor of the universal. I think that's an important sentence because we are prone to that. We'd like to push aside the personal or the particular and find the universal, but we will find some more universal truths within the particular, personal, or specific.
And it's important, Nellie, as you're talking, to state it that way because the specificity of our dukkha needs specific responses. I mean, so this is actually going to help people develop their own responses to their experience, their own understandings of it. And if you lose that specificity and stay in the universal, you really never find your own path.
Right. And they translated, I mean, it was a long course. It was many, 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 many hours, but some of them when I was barely awake, started at 6 a.m. every morning. But in my memory, they most commonly translated the word dukkha as pain. And we like that translation too, rather than one that's more universal like suffering, because pain really does, again, speak to our specific, particular experiences.
So as we started off, it's been very validating to hear these two scholars talk about conditionality and its two forms. And it's validating to our practice, what we've been doing over the years. And we intend to spend more time integrating and synthesizing those teachings.
And we hope you'll be coming along with us for this journey.
Okay, we'll end our talk here.